Everyone, Pam Gregory, astrologer. I'm going to be speaking to you today about the first half of January, and in particular the full moon that we have in Cancer coming up on the 12th. Now, for January and indeed for much of 2017, there's going to be a strong feeling of social change. In fact, social, economic, and political change. That's partly because we have continuing this Uranus-Pluto square, which is being expanded by Jupiter as well. We had that in the mid-60s, and that was a huge period of social and political change too, with many new laws being passed to recognise greater equality amongst underprivileged groups in society. So we're going to have more of that in 2017. We're going to have potentially a lot of social activism, and it's around the principles of equality, fairness, and justice. That combination of Jupiter in Libra in the T-square to Uranus and Pluto. So you'll feel that a lot through the whole of the year and strongly through January. But we also have something else that we had in the mid-60s too, and that is Chiron in Pisces. And Chiron in Pisces gives us great sensitivity and a tuning into the earth and the sensitivities of the earth. We'll remember in the 60s that we had people talking about peace and love and living in communes, and we're going to have that sense again. And it's almost with the square from Saturn to Chiron in Pisces, Chiron's at 21 of Pisces, that there'll be a feeling of sensitivity, increased sensitivity, I think, for all of us, and perhaps even vulnerability, and that the tangible 3D world of Saturn may be too much, maybe too intense, too overwhelming, too controlling. So instead of feeling like a victim, because with Neptune and Chiron in Pisces, it could be easy to express that as victimhood, try and shift to a different level, try and shift from the 3D level to a higher spiritual reality, because that's what Neptune and Chiron in Pisces are calling us to do. See the bigger picture in all of this in 2017. See the bigger picture, the spiritual reality and the spiritual law behind what's happening. So a lot of sensitivity happening through January, but there's some great opportunities in January and indeed through much of 2017. This aspect we have between Haumea and Uranus and Eris continues, in fact, till early 2018. And that's about expanding your perception, expanding your consciousness. Equally, Jupiter opposing Uranus is very much about that too. It's about new opportunities coming in. They come in fast, they come in out of the blue. And because Uranus always speeds things up, you've got to be quick to catch them as well. This aspect can be very lucky. It can give us bigger visions, bigger horizons, a sense of bigger possibilities. And again, it can shift our consciousness, expand our consciousness, in fact. Jupiter's expansion and Uranus is about the superconscious, to see a different perspective on a situation. So it's very exciting. And particularly if you have anything between 17 and 22 degrees of the cardinal signs, you may well feel this a lot. In fact, Jupiter is about 2021 of Libra and Uranus is at about 2021 of Aries. So they're very tightly opposite each other. It's Pluto that's at the 17 of Capricorn. But if you have anything, as I say, 17 to 22, 23 of the cardinal signs, those are Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, you're going to be feeling a lot of this energy in January and through much of 2017. The aspect between Jupiter and Uranus can also help with technological breakthroughs and also help to give us more evidence of life beyond our galaxy. It can be very exciting in that way, really broaden our horizons beyond planet Earth to realise there's other life out there, and I think we'll get a lot of new evidence of that. It's going to, in general, be a highly Uranian year. Uranus is going to be a very dominant planet in 2017 for a variety of reasons, partly because it's being picked up in this T-square. But Uranus, therefore, will bring adventure, excitement, extremism, intensity, the unexpected, the unpredictable, surprises, shocks. It will be fast moving change, so be ready to turn on a sixpence, because sometimes things will appear to be moving in one direction, but then quickly turn and start to move in another. So we're going to have to be flexible, and don't set your plans in stone, because you may have to alter them as you go. Try and really go with the flow with this, because it can open up new opportunities. So try not to be rigid, try not to be set, really flow with it, particularly if you've had anything around those degrees of the cardinal signs that I've just mentioned. So super exciting time, a little bit like a roller coaster. So at times I think it will be very helpful to just step back, take a breath, imagine that you're breathing in and out of your heart, feel peace. Always have that default position of peace. So when things get very intense and exciting, you don't get too caught up in the immediate reality. You have another default place, which is a higher reality to which you can switch and can actually change the situation on the ground. But this is a month, and it's a year when it's going to be a great opportunity to leave the past behind, more than a regular year. Let go of those old labels, those old definitions, those self-limiting beliefs, anything which is the old you. Just decide to leave that behind, and don't look too much back to the past. Step into the future you. Don't be defined by your past, be defined by your future. Because this is a time that you can really become an activist, a trailblazer of your own truth. Uranus is about your unique truth. So find ways that you can really express that in the world to make a contribution to the world. It's very altruistic, Uranus, because it's caring for the collective, it's caring for others, but in your unique trailblazing way. Become a light worker for the world. This is the feeling that we have for 2017 that's so exciting. We also are going to have Mercury still retrograde until the 8th of the month. It's retrograding at the beginning of January from 2 of Capricorn to 28 of Sagittarius on the 8th. Now 28 degrees of Sagittarius is the galactic center. So when the planet of the mind, Mercury, is aligned with the center of our galaxy, it's often a wonderful time to receive some very high-level information. So it's a great day to meditate. And indeed, when Mercury goes direct on the 8th, all of the planets are going to be direct for the next 4 weeks until the 6th of February. So it's a super time to actually progress projects, because everything is moving forwards. Now we're going to have a very intense week in January from the 6th moving up to the 12th, and indeed beyond the 12th, because that's when we have the full moon, which I'll talk about in a moment. But on the 6th, the Sun comes to conjunct Pluto, and by the 10th, it's exactly squaring Uranus and Eris. So from the 6th to the 10th, the Sun is highlighting again that Uranus-Pluto square of eruptive revolutionary energy. On the 9th, the moon in Gemini is square to Mars at 15 of Pisces, and that's a time when we could feel quite impatient or a little too assertive. So just go gently, be aware of that, and just go very gently really through this whole week. And equally at the full moon is intense. Full moons are very often intense, particularly feelings can be running very high, all the more so when they are in water signs. And this full moon on the 12th is at 22 degrees, 27 minutes of Cancer, very sensitive water sign. It happens at 3:33 a.m. Pacific and 11:33 a.m. UK time. Now this full moon actually forms what's known as a cardinal grand cross. It actually involves 7 planets in total. The Sun, the Moon, which are referred to as planets in astrology, Jupiter, Haumea, Pluto, Uranus and Eris. So it's really strong. So anything you have around 22 degrees of the cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, you might feel this. Feelings tend to run high. As I say, emotions tend to come up at a full moon. But this, in this very sensitive water sign of Cancer, can make us feel sensitive, vulnerable. It can make us feel very sympathetic, empathetic to other people. We want to care for other people. But equally, we will be concerned or focused on our own emotional and practical security. It's very linked to Cancer as well. The sensitivity is increased by the fact we also have 4 planets in Pisces, the most sensitive of all the water signs. And they are Venus, Mars, Neptune, and Chiron. So part of this full moon is the feeling, the emotion, the sensitivity, the vulnerability. But another part of it is feeling very impulsive because the moon is square to Uranus and Eris. So you might feel quite impatient, quite intense. So again, in relationships, you may have this split between wanting to hunker down and be secure and predictable in relationship, and another part of you will want to strike out and be much more free and independent. It's a feeling of exhilaration and independence in general with this Jupiter-Uranus opposition as well. So just don't act precipitously, because the moon will move on quite quickly and move on from that square to Uranus. But there will be quite a mix of feelings. It's very strong. Also, cardinal signs are very action-oriented. They're initiatory. So you may well want to take action at this full moon. A full moon is a cycle of closure, ending, completion, culmination. So see where that falls in your chart, which area of life is coming to culmination, in order that a slightly new direction takes place, a new episode starts to be born. But action is also quite highlighted at the full moon, because we also have a square between Mars at 18 of Pisces and Saturn at 22 of Sagittarius. And this is also about purposeful, clear, decisive, and very focused action. And the more you can kind of prune or hone your objectives to be very specific, the better that will work. So see which area of life you are meant to take action in, where 22 of Cancer falls in your chart. And if you don't know that, just check out the link appearing above me here. It'll take you to my store. You can buy a 2-part tutorial video series which will explain really clearly how you can find where this falls in your chart, and any other aspect that I will ever talk about in any of the updates, and what the meaning is for you. So very strong action orientation at this full moon. And even after the full moon, we may have this sense of intensity that continues. But use the opportunities given to us in not only January but 2017 to really find your own truth, find your own path, which is really unique to you. There's going to be a real sense of that, and there's going to be a sense of a lot of people, I've mentioned this before, a lot of people coming together in community who share the same values, who have similar truths, if you like, because there's going to be an increasing resistance to any external authority which seems to be too controlling, too irrelevant, too corrupt. There's going to be a surge for truth, honesty, fairness, and justice through 2017. So very exciting time, and a time when you can feel freed from your past. It can be quite exhilarating for you. So enjoy this full moon in Cancer on the 12th. If you'd like more information about my book, my audiobook, my other tutorial videos, just check out my website.